Hey guys, Chanko, 2 Turbo, 2-time Muay Thai World Professional Champion, and scary dream of Dillon Danis. Strašný kašmar Dillona Danisa.
Before the headliners even made their walk, chaos broke out in the stands. Dillon Danis and members of Khabib's crew got into a fierce scuffle that instantly electrified the arena. So by the time Islam and JDM finally stepped into the cage, the whole place was already tense. And once their fight wrapped up, the reactions that followed only pushed the night's energy even higher. When reporters brought up the chaos, Dana White didn't shy away from it. He admitted the situation was partly on him. Right before the main card started, security informed him that Danis had wandered into the fighters section instead of staying in his designated seat. They asked if he should be escorted out, but Dana allowed him to stay since he had a legitimate ticket. As soon as the scuffle erupted, he instantly realized that was the wrong call.
This is the fight game. Crazy stuff happens all the time, especially behind the scenes, but I was right there on press row when that crazy brawl broke out with Dillon Danis and the member of Khabib's team and stuff. Can you just tell us how disappointed you were to see that and any insight into the fallout?
I blame myself for that, actually. They came back and told me right before I walked out for the main card that Dillon Danis was here and he was moving around sitting in fighter seats and not sitting in his own seat that he had. He had a ticket. And they said, do you want us to throw him out of here? And I said, he has a ticket? And I said, yeah.
Dana explained that security had already alerted him that Masvidal was looking for a chance to confront Danny, and the two were seated only a few rows apart. Even with that warning, he decided to leave Danis where he was since his ticket was legitimate, with staff keeping an eye on him. What Dana didn't account for, he said, was the large group of Islam supporters packed into that same area. So when the chaos erupted, he immediately knew exactly what was happening. After watching the whole scene play out, Dana made it clear that Danis won't be attending another UFC event. He's officially banned.
You know, they told me, they said, Masvidal said he's going to fuck him up on sight. And I said, well, where's Masvidal sitting? He said, well, he's 6 or 7 rows away from Masvidal. I said, well, if the guy has a ticket, let him sit in his seat and let him do what he's doing and keep an eye on him. It never even crossed my mind, as stupid as this could be, that the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. And as soon as it broke out, I was over on the other side and I go, fuck. I know exactly what that is. I knew it. And yeah, You will never see Dillon.
Dana pointed out that Danis often claims the UFC stays away from him because he's too much of a headache. And after what happened, Dana said the situation basically proved that point. He reiterated that Danis won't be returning to any UFC events. Security even asked if he wanted Danis taken into custody, but Dana declined, saying this is the fight business and he wasn't going to press charges, especially since he felt the incident could have been avoided if he had handled things differently earlier. As for anyone else being detained, he said he hadn't been told about any arrests and couldn't speak for the other people who got caught up in the chaos.
At a UFC fight ever again.
Yeah. I was gonna say he's wanted badly to come in this company, and he said you guys don't want to sign him because he makes too much trouble. I guess point made.
Well, that and a lot of other reasons,
Yeah.
but yeah, you'll never see him at another fight. So they called me from downstairs and they said, we got him down here. Do you want to press charges and have him arrested? And I said, no, we don't want to press charges. This is the fight business, man. You know how I feel about this shit. And I could have prevented this tonight, and I messed up.
Yeah. Anyone else get arrested or anything like that in the fall?
Not that I'm aware of, no. Okay. We're not pressing charges. I'm not speaking for MSG or anybody else that was involved in this thing. I don't know, but we, the UFC, are not pressing charges.
After Dana addressed the incident, Islam Makhachev shared his own view on what sparked the chaos. He said the blow-up didn't come out of nowhere, it was the result of years of non-stop trash talk directed at him and his team. According to Islam, when someone keeps disrespecting people, eventually there's a breaking point. He felt Dillon Danis had pushed that boundary for a long time, and the confrontation was simply the outcome of his behavior. Islam even went as far as saying the situation was serious enough that Danis shouldn't be allowed back in the country.
When you talk about someone like last 5 years you talk about someone, when you meet them you have to answer what you said, and today I don't think he answered, and he still say a lot of bad things about our team, and today he coming and somebody just meet him. He talk about this guy's bad, and today the guys just meet him. That's it.
Dana said he's banned from UFC events for life, so he'll never be back to one.
He have to ban from this country also.
Dillon Danis also shared his side of the story, giving some background on why the tension boiled over. According to him, the buildup started weeks earlier, after he posted photos of Khabib drinking something Khabib's team didn't take lightly. He added that even before the Khabib vs. Conor fight, there had already been sharp words exchanged along the cage barrier. When that fight finally took place, everything exploded the moment he and Khabib ended up faced. Security rushed in as punches were thrown, and Danis said he only reacted to protect his teammates, insisting he wasn't going to sit back while they were being disrespected.
So weeks before the fight happened, they were commenting on my picture because I was posting like Khabib drinking whiskey and stuff like that, and that for them was like crazy. So I kind of knew it was gonna be hostile, and like I knew like all this was going down. And then during the fight, there was one time against the fence, he was against the fence, and he was like saying to me, like talking to me. So I'm like, all right, and we were talking back and forth, and like it was what it was. And then after the fight, he came over, he pointed at me, and I was like going like this, and I was like, come here, bitch, or whatever. And then he threw the mouthpiece, and I said like something to him, and he said something back, and then also he just jumped. And I was like, all right, well, now it's a fight. But he jumped in such a weird way. It was like the weirdest thing. So I didn't know what to block. I didn't know what to block a kick or
like,
I'm like this because I don't know. He jumped with his feet in the air. So he landed, and then we got into that brawl, and then the security's holding me, and then Islam and all of them are punching me in the back of the head. Yeah, you're not going to disrespect my boy and then try to come at me, and then I'm gonna always defend my boys.
Shifting to the aftermath of Islam's win over J. Analysts and insiders have been weighing in on what the victory means. Dana White was one of the first to share his thoughts. He talked about how, throughout his many years in the fight business, people constantly label fighters as the next big thing, but only a handful ever live up to that hype. In Khabib's case, Dana said his father's belief was different. It wasn't just hype. Khabib's father always predicted that Khabib would dominate his era, and that Islam would eventually carry that torch. And incredibly, Dana said that's exactly how things have played out. To him, it's a reflection of both Khabib's lasting influence and Islam's ascension to the top.
And I was saying to Khabib, I've been in the fight business since I was 20 years old, and all I ever hear is, this guy's going to be a world champion, this guy's going to do this guy's going to do that. Everybody says the same thing, and almost nobody ever does or makes it. His father said, Khabib will go in and dominate, and he'll have a run, and when he's done, and then Islam will come in behind him and do the same. And, holy shit, it played out exactly the way his father said, which is pretty amazing. I don't know what you asked me, but I hope I answered your question.
No, it's just...
Bisping said the matchup was essentially a masterclass from Islam, complete control from the opening bell to the final moment. He pointed out that Islam's wrestling dictated every round, with each takedown coming easier than the last. By the later stages, Jack had almost no space to mount any real offense, as Islam kept him shut down at every turn.
Makhachev versus Jack Della Maddalena. So, as I said, it was domination. It was an annihilation. It was one-way traffic from start to finish, okay? We knew Islam was going to go out there and try to out-wrestle him. That's what he did. He was very successful. He took him down every single round, and the longer the fight went, the easier...
Bisping also noted that Jack looked trapped throughout the fight. His movement was sluggish, and he struggled to generate any real offense. Even with his corner urging him to fire back, Jack could only absorb the pressure, taking kicks and punches but refusing to fold. Bisping emphasized just how dominant Islam was, pointing out his 28-1 record and the fact that he's now matched Anderson Silva's 16-fight winning streak, while Silva's run might stand out more because it came with championship defenses and iconic finishes. Bisping made it clear that Islam's achievements and the level of control he's shown are remarkable in their own way.
Downs became. Now, Jack, according to his coach, was stuck in the mud. He wasn't moving the feet quite as much. And at the end of every round, his coach, and I'm sure they have a great relationship, so they understand each other, should I say. But the coach was just giving him a hard time. He was like, what are you doing, mate? Don't sit there in half guard. Don't do this, don't do that. Come on, you got to fight him. You're stuck in the mud. He was just giving him crap every single time. And Jack, as the fight was going on, was just looking more and more deflated, dejected, defeated. DC and Rogan were saying that he was grimacing. He was grimacing in pain. I'm sure that some of the elbows and the punches and the calf kicks were all hurting. But I think for the most part, it was just the fact that he couldn't do anything. He was getting taken down. He was getting controlled. He did do a good job of not giving up, okay? Because, listen, Islam is a tremendous fighter, okay? He's got a record now of 28-1. He now ties Anderson Silva for a 16-fight win streak. I still think Anderson's was more impressive because 12 of those 16 fights were title fights, and that is more impressive. And of course, we saw some wild knockouts from Anderson Silva, but still, I'm not taking away from Islam Makhachev what he's achieved.
Belal Muhammad hailed Islam's performance as a masterclass from start to finish. Early on, he predicted that if the fight went to the ground, Jack would be in for a long night hand. That's exactly how it unfolded. Islam blended precise striking, including sharp calf kicks, with disciplined grappling, following Khabib's guidance to the letter. While Jack defended valiantly, he gradually wore down under the relentless pressure. Muhammad also highlighted the distinct challenge of grappling with Dagestani fighters. By executing his strategy flawlessly, Islam not only secured the victory, but also gave Team Khabib their first double champion, solidifying their legendary status in UFC history.
Before the fight, I said it, if it hits the ground, it's going to be a long night for Jack. It was a very long night. But Islam did really good on the feet as well. He implemented that calf kick very early, mixing it up. Khabib didn't let him get out of the game plan. He was yelling at him, do not strike, get your takedowns in, right? You get into those modes sometimes where your striking's landing, you're looking good, you're hurting him on the feet, and then you want to go all on the feet. Islam did a beautiful job sticking to it, strategizing. Jack did a good job of not getting submitted on the feet, on the ground. Islam had some spots, his good chokes. Jack just really had nothing for him. Probably by the third or fourth round, I don't know, he just looked down in the corner, like he really had nothing left. Probably never felt that before. Like I said, when DDP fought Hamza, if you never grapple with a guy from that region, from Dagestan, and you start feeling for the first time, you don't want it to be in the cage because it's different. It's a different squeeze, different feel, different top pressure. Islam did an amazing job in there, sticking to it and then winning. Team Khabib, Javier Mendez, they get their first double champ in that team, and that's been one of the most dominant teams in UFC history. So that's...
Following Muhammad's analysis, Robert Whittaker shared his own take on Islam's strategy. He pointed out how Islam immediately focused on Jack's legs with precise calf kicks, causing significant damage within the opening minute. These strikes threw off Jack's balance, limiting his movement, striking, and defensive options. While Islam's wrestling remained dominant, Whittaker praised his impeccable timing throughout the fight. Despite questions about moving up in weight, Islam's cardio stayed strong, allowing him to maintain relentless pressure on Jack, who struggled under constant wear and tear on the mat.
Went straight for the calf kick. Within the first minute, straight for the calf kick, started doing some real damage to that leg early on. Obviously, the wrestling was always going to be a big factor in this fight. Yeah. Islam does what Islam does. But I think the leg attacks just took Jack's foundation away. You know, his grounding in that tight-knit boxing that he likes to use. It affected not only his movement when he was striking, but his defense, his backing up against cage, his sprawl ability, all of it. Not to say though, Islam's timing was just sensational. Sensational. And then you also saw, so I mentioned earlier when we first started that Islam's cardio was in question, just him moving up. How was he going to go throughout the thing? It seemed like, even though Islam was like being very physical to get these takedowns, Jack was losing that battle of attrition, being on his back. You know, he had grimaces the entire time. The pressure of his...
Demetrius Johnson added another layer to the analysis. Focusing on how Islam dominated the octagon, he explained that Jack was never allowed to find his rhythm or regain control. Every attempt at a fence or a takedown was immediately neutralized by Islam. Even when Jack tried a judo throw, Islam pressed him against the cage, cutting off all the space he needed to operate. Johnson emphasized that Islam dictated the pace throughout the fight, keeping Jack off balance and restricting his opportunities. One standout moment came in round 2, when Jack managed to stop a takedown, and even used an overhook to reverse the position briefly, showing a rare glimpse of resistance. But beyond that, Islam maintained complete control from start to finish. Johnson highlighted that with this victory at 170 pounds, Islam isn't just a champion, he's now firmly in the conversation as one of the sport's all-time greats, solidifying his place among MMA's elite. Meanwhile, Ali Abdallah has criticized Jack's coach, Craig Jones, suggesting his game plan hindered Jack's performance. He pointed out that some submission attempts, like the buggy choke, didn't work and kept Jack from fully recovering in the fight. Abdelaziz described Jones as a jiu-jitsu expert trying to make a mark in MMA, implying Jack might have performed better with different guidance. After addressing Jack's corner, Abdelaziz shifted to praising Islam, declaring him firmly in GOAT territory. He stressed that Islam's clean, disciplined approach and integrity set him apart even from legends like Anderson Silva. For Abdelaziz, competing without shortcuts or controversies is more than impressive. It's proof that Islam belongs among MMA's all-time greats. Now, we want to hear from you. What's your take on the pre-fight brawl between Islam and JD? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more updates, insights, and insider reactions from the fight.